Good evening and welcome to episode 4 of the Self-Evident Truth with the Grumpy Old Vet. If you were paying attention, my last episode, episode 3, I called it the Angry Old Vet. It's because I was angry. I was a little bit angry. We've been under a lot of stress going under just an absolutely ridiculous lawsuit. Mountains of paperwork, lots of money, lots of wasted time, lots of effort for absolutely no reason other than egos. A good friend of mine, Darren Wisely, very, very good lawyer, very good person. He does a YouTube channel called Reasonable Doubt. In his episode 88, he titled it First Blood, and that's really the crux of all this that's going on. I thought it was a very good program he did on that on First Blood. I'll try to put the link down in the description here if I can. If I figure out how to do that, I haven't learned all this haven't learned this tech yet. Just trying to get into it a little bit, so it'll take me a little bit to learn. I got a learning curve, and I'm not spending a lot of time on learning it either because I'm busy with other things. But if I don't look it up, it's Reasonable Doubt with Darren Wisely, episode 88, First Blood. Now, let me preface this whole thing with, and I think we paint too much with a broad brush. Never met anybody that's 100% good. Never met anybody that's 100% evil. Right from the garden, all human beings have the propensity for good and evil inside them. Now, some good people do bad things, do evil things with the best of intentions. Some good people do evil things out of choice. That doesn't make them evil. That makes that particular thing they did evil. We've got to start learning to love the sinner, hate the sin, call evil evil and good good. But too many times we paint with a broad brush. We'll talk about, all Democrats. No, you can't label everybody in a group. You can't paint with a broad brush. You can't do that. You've got to call out specific things and call evil evil and good good. Nobody's 100% evil. Nobody's 100% good. Even good people we're not going to agree with 100%. That's all right. But we do draw the line at a certain value, at a certain philosophical value that makes sure that we all have basically the same philosophical values. It doesn't work well with a Christian and a Satanist. They've got completely different values, and each to his own. Each has the ability, the God-given choice, to free will to choose for themselves. But we are the government. We, the people, we are the government. These people we elect are not the government. They're our servants. They are our employees. So we, the people, are the government, and we need to fix this government. Right now, there's a huge split. What's going on in Hillsdale is just a microcosm of what's going on statewide and nationwide. In fact, right now, there was just a news story where all the big PAC donors like Betsy DeVos and the rest of them all pulling their money back from the Republican Party because they don't like Christina Caramo. Well, why don't you like Christina Caramo? Well, she's not our pick. That's not who we wanted. Okay, well, for years I always heard, well, John, that's our candidate. You got to get behind our candidate. That's our candidate. Well, but I don't like them. They're a warmonger. They're practicing socialism. They're a neocon. I don't like that candidate. Well, but John, that's the candidate. You need to get behind the candidate, right? Get behind our candidate. So we always did. But now that the America First people are taking over and going, you know what, we've had enough, the establishment people, and we're not real happy with what's been going on. More people are getting involved. More of the blue collar, common people are getting involved. And my gosh, all those people, all those establishment people are just absolutely losing their crud. What do you mean you want the common man to get involved in governing himself? Well, yeah, that was the whole intention behind the founding of this country, right? That we're not going to depend for accident and force anymore for our Constitution, but deliberation and choice. So yeah, let's debate it and let's have some choice. So that's exactly what's going on in Hillsdale County too. Here's the problem. Did you know to deprive anybody of their rights under the color of law is a crime? Title 18, 242 of the United States Code makes that a crime. If you deprive people of their civil rights under the color of law, it's a very serious crime. Now, I remember talking in a circle of lawyers, and I brought up that Marnie Cast had fixed the precinct delegate election. And I told them what she'd done, and they went, wait a minute, then why don't you have a complaint with the AG's office, with the Secretary of State's office? And I said, well, because when this all happened, we had 3 candidates that were running for governor, attorney general, and Secretary of State. All 3 of them were running on election integrity issues because we have election integrity issues. Marnie said we don't have any in Hillsdale, but obviously we do. We've got some very big election integrity issues in Hillsdale. And it's starting to become evident to people. Before, if you just kind of whispered it, you said it in the shadows, and you said it at coffee with a couple close friends, but you didn't say it out loud, because if you did, oh my gosh, you're a tinfoil hat wearing kook. Well, it's starting to become very obvious to the public now that there is election integrity issues here in Hillsdale. And the person that wears the captain's hat on that is Marnie Cast. So let's kind of review just a little bit. In January and February, our people weren't getting applications. I myself went up there twice to get an application, was denied twice because they were either locked up or they didn't have them there or whatever. Marnie Cast wasn't there, or Abe David wasn't there, so they couldn't give them. That's not a good excuse. That's the office where we go to get that paperwork, and we should have that paperwork available to us, the government, we the people, because we pay those people to have that for us. And we elect her at the helm of that. So there's no excuse. So because our people were being denied, we did the paperwork at the March meeting, handed in. Now in April, here's the interesting thing. When I was talking to these election lawyers, in April, the election commission met, which is Marnie Cast, the county clerk, the probate judge, Judge Bianchi, and the county treasurer, Stephanie Kaiser. At that meeting, Marnie Cast, not out of nowhere, John Smith was supposed to have the paperwork turned in on Friday. He didn't get it turned in Friday night. Turned it in Monday morning. Hey, we're new at this. We're learning as we're going along. We're novices. We're learning as we go. Because of that, she said, well, she put a motion on the floor to drop our precinct delegate allocation from 133 to 100. And we thought that was out at the time. She really couldn't explain why she wanted to do that. I find out later from election lawyers, she didn't have the authority to do that. She doesn't have the authority where it says it shall be turned in by that day. That's because if the party is changing the allocations, we have to have it turned in by a certain time for them to change those allocations. That's why it says shall be turned in by that time. The party wasn't changing any allocations. Marnie doesn't have the authority to change those allocations. She doesn't have the authority to do that for the Democrats. She doesn't have the authority to do it for the Republicans. Plain and simple. So, big mistake number 1. Well, that showed right there the intent of what she was trying to do, because she was trying to drop the precinct delegate allocations down from 133 to 100 to make sure that no America First people could fill in any of those slots. Why? Because she knew that there were 70 applications coming in at the last 2 days. Those 70 applications were coming in the last 2 days so that she could, and she published ours for about 7 weeks. So she published ours for about 7 weeks. And so we all thought that we were going to be on the ballot. But the last 2 days, she accepted 70 of their ballots. Out of those 70, 62 of them were either elected officials, the staff from their office, or family. Here's where the interesting thing comes in. The staff in her office, a lot of them were precinct delegate, or signed up for precinct delegates. So we went to them and said, hey, you precinct delegates, we're having meetings. If you'd like to get involved, we'd love to have you come. They said, we're not going to come to any meetings. We didn't have any plans on doing any of that. We were just holding those places because we were asked to do it. Now, either they were coerced to do it because they're working in that office and they felt like they had to. That's a form of coercion. or they're part of the plot. And I don't think they're part of the plot because they really didn't even want to get involved. They didn't even want to be involved. In fact, the other side, the meetings that they've been having, they haven't been showing up there either. So basically, they ran for those positions just as placeholders to hold those positions to keep any America First people, keep any of our people from being able to get on the ballot. Because she already knew that she was going to throw our ballots out. Now, here's the thing, that's deprivation of rights under the color of law. That's a very serious crime. Title 18, 242. Look it up. Uh, People have that civil right to run for office. They have that civil right to run for precinct delegate. To deny them that right, and that's exactly what Marnie did, she was plotting to fix that election. They dropped the precinct delegate allocation from 133 to 100. They signed up all the elected officials and all their staff. So this was concerted. This is a conspiracy, and it's not theory. It's conspiracy fact, not conspiracy theory. And for them to do that, any of them that were involved in that plot, and I believe Brett Leiniger was one of them that was involved in that plot, and Neil Brady, I believe, was involved in that plot. Abe Dane, I believe, was involved in that plot. Abe Dane is a reserve officer on the sheriff's department. That bothers me a lot. I had respect for Abe too. But like I say, I'm not going to call these evil people. The action that they did was evil. The action they did was wrong. That doesn't make them bad people. That makes their action wrong. Love the sinner, hate the sin. So when they plotted to do this, they actually broke a federal crime. They committed a federal crime when they did that. Now, Abe Dane himself filled out my daughter's application, approved it, then on the last day put a red mark through the approval and disapproved it. This is quite conclusive evidence of what was going on and what happened, especially since a lot of those people that Abe and Marnie recruited, they recruited on government time while they were being paid government money. They filled out the applications for them. That was one of the complaints they had on us. They said, well, we don't think people filled out the application themselves. Well, yeah, they did. Or they gave authority to someone to either put the number 1 in or to mark the U.S. citizen. So this was the plot. That's what made me in the last episode an angry old vet. Because when you think about it, that's the first blood. That's what started this whole snowball rolling downhill, was elected officials, and I'm not going to call them bad people. I think for the most part, they're good people. They claim to be Christian, and I believe them. I'm a Christian. I know what the Christian principles are, but then again, I also know that everybody has a propensity for good and evil. And I also believe that there's good people, that do bad things with the best of intentions. But let's face it, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? We know that to be true. But that doesn't make Christians saints. In fact, the very idea of being a Christian is knowing that you're not a totally good person, that you are sinful, and that sin, the wages for that sin is death. And that's the reason why we're Christians, is because we admit that we're flawed. We admit that we have sin. So I'm not going to call them bad people. We got to stop this painting with a broad brush all the time. It's just ridiculous. Call evil evil and good good on its own individual merit, on the action, on the sin. That doesn't make the person bad. That makes the thing that they did bad. And like I say, some people do bad things with the best of intentions. I get it. I get it. It happens. But once that's brought to your attention, we're supposed to be repentant of that sin. And 41 and a half inches of paperwork is not repentant at all. It's causing a lot of hassle. It's causing a lot of problems. It's cost a lot of money. It's caused a huge division. It's creating more sin. It's creating more bad juju. It's not good. It's just not good. But that's really the crux of it. That's what happened. Now, when I was with these election lawyers, they asked, well, why didn't you file a complaint? Well, think about it. We had 3 candidates running for office. All 3 of them were running on election integrity issues. Hillsdale, home of Hillsdale College, is quite revered as kind of the pinnacle of conservatism, isn't it? Talk about it on Fox News, Hannity. Rush Limbaugh used to talk about it. What would that have looked like? What would that have done to our candidates? We were trying to get candidates elected. Now, the other side wasn't. The other side wasn't trying to get Christina Cromwell elected as Secretary of State or Matt DePerno elected as Attorney General or Tudor Dixon elected as governor. Those weren't their picks. They didn't care. They didn't want to hear well, that's the candidate. You got to get behind our candidate. That's our candidate. They didn't want to hear that. Of course, we always had to acquiesce to that, but they weren't going to acquiesce to that. See, this elitist entitlement attitude, this I've been in power for so long. See, this is why it's wrong to call them political leaders. They're not leaders. They're servants, and they have forgotten their place. They have forgotten that they serve we the people. We the people have stood up. We've spoke. There's more people getting involved, more blue-collar people, us icky blue-collar types. Yes, it's we the people. That's what our founders gave us, self-government. Government by reflection and choice, not by accident and force. Article 4 of the Constitution guarantees me a Republican form of government. We are a republic. We're not a democracy. We're a republic. And a republic, one of the keystones of a republic is it has to have a representative government. It has to be representative. So why are we fighting the common people standing up and starting to say, we don't like this direction that we've been going. We don't like having illegal wars. We don't like President Bush putting us into 2 of the longest wars ever. How much death and destruction? For what? For absolutely nothing. It's only a moral war if you're in defense. It's an immoral war if you're in aggression. And those 2 wars were aggression. We haven't had a legal war since World War II. President Bush went to the UN to get authority. The UN has no authority. The Constitution is the authority. He has to have a declaration of war signed by Congress before he's the commander-in-chief and can send us to war. That's ridiculous. So there's a lot of people that are starting to stand up and saying, we don't like this. We don't like this neoconservative ideology, this imperialist ideology. It says in the Declaration of, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Nowhere in there did it say just the people in North America. That says all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator. The same Creator that created me on the other side of the world created them. They have the God-given right of free will to choose the government, because the next line says that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. If that's their sovereign country, they have the right by their Creator to pick and choose the type of government they have. Who appointed us as the moral police of the world to tell other people what kind of government they must have? It violates our Christian principles, and it violates the Declaration of Independence. And all the wars we've had since World War II violated our Constitution. So there's a lot of us that are not happy with the establishment neocon Republicans. And we're trying to change that. We're trying to change back to a core set of values. Values that conservatives believe in, that life is sacred, that that smaller government is better, that getting government out of people's lives. I mean, the 16th and 17th Amendment, come on, they were horrible, horrible amendments people were tricked into. And look at what we've got going on right now. We've got banks that are going under. They're too big to fail. We're going to bail them out again. When is enough enough? Ukraine, we're spending billions of dollars to defend their borders. Why? So that Hunter Biden and the big guy get kickbacks and money? Is that what we're there for? And we've got McConnell and Lindsey Graham warmongering. Oh yeah, we need to go to war. We need to go to war. Hello? Listen to what you're thinking. We're closer to a world war, a nuclear world war, closer than we ever were in the Cold War. When I grew up, we used to have to do drills in school, or you get under your desk for threat of a nuclear attack. Are we doing any of that in school now? No, we're closer now than we ever were then. Of course, it was kind of silly to hide under your desk like that was going to protect you from a nuclear strike. But my point is, we tried to prepare then, and we're not even preparing now. And we're closer to a worldwide nuclear war than ever. We're tired of the neocons. We're tired of them in Hillsdale. We're tired of them in the state of Michigan. And we're more than tired of them in the federal government. But I can't fix the federal government. I can't fix the state. What I can do is I can do my darn level best to fix Hillsdale. Now, there's some other people that I respect that I've worked with in the past who are part of the party that aren't part of the party now, that used to say they believed in the same thing I believed in, and now going out spreading a false narrative that somehow we did something unfair. Well, just to set the record straight, that's what it is. They drew first blood. They fixed the precinct delegate election. If they want to take this thing further and it wants to go to court, we'll depose everybody in their offices. And under oath, they're going to have to say exactly what they've said to us in the past, what they've said to us in casual conversation. Who asked them? When did they ask them? Was it during work time? And it was in the whole courthouse. It was done during work time. There was people that were paying to be doing a job that were actually setting up Republican precinct delegates applications. They weren't doing it for Democrats. They were doing it for Republicans, and that's also problematic. That's wrong. When you're elected, you don't just represent Republicans if you're elected as a Republican. You represent everyone, not just the Republicans. So if you're going to do something for one, you got to do it for all. The law is only just when the law covers everybody. That's what the 14th Amendment's about, right? Equal protection of the law. Shouldn't matter what your political party is or what your ideology is or what your faith is. Everybody's treated the same because everybody is created by the Creator the same. And when you're an elected official, you need to understand that. The other thing is, now that we don't have to worry about getting those three elected, because the neocons did everything they could to make sure that our candidates didn't win, and they're doing it even more now to make sure that nobody's going to win in 2024, only who they want. They're talking about splitting off and creating another party, or not following MIGOP, just going ahead and doing their own thing. Think about that for a little bit. But of course, when the shoe was on the other foot, it was completely different, wasn't it? But now that we, the common people, are standing up and going, well, you know what? You guys have had the helm too long. You've destroyed our banks, destroyed our country, and killed most of our young men and women. It's time that we step in and let our voices be heard. But now they don't want our voices to be heard. So some of these same people that are trashing us that said that we started this. No, we didn't start this. And it didn't start here in Hillsdale. This is going on across the state. It's going on across the nation. People are fed up. They're tired. The elected officials better pay attention. Our employees better get on their job because they want this to go further. It can go further. We've been trying to take this very step at a time, very non-injurious. Of course, they haven't been doing the same with us. They've come after us using legal warfare, just absolute legal warfare. If we want this thing to go to deposition, we'll depose. We'll depose all those elected officials' employees to see what really happened. The other thing is, then you got Ralph Riley and you got my daughter that can both file a Title 18 242 lawsuit. And I know a good lawyer that can do it. Yep. Yep. You ought to pay attention to his program. He's pretty sharp. He understands this stuff. He hasn't been warped by education. He actually sees the truth. He knows what's going on. He understands and loves this country. He understands the very founding principles of this country. That's what makes him good at what he does. So, that's the case. I wouldn't want to do that. But all the things that are coming out, knowing that Fauci knew from the head of the CDC that the virologist from the head of the CDC actually said that the virus was engineered, and then Fauci put out a false narrative and actually lied in front of Congress. See, it doesn't matter that all this is coming out. It doesn't matter that the J6 stuff is coming out. Everything that we said was true. Everything I've been saying since May of 2020 has been true. Doesn't matter. Okay, so the truth comes out and we're vindicated. There's not punishment, then there is no justice. You cannot have freedom without law. So it's time that the evil actors are punished. It's not something I want to do. It's like spanking my children, like disciplining my children. It's not something I wanted to do, but it's something that needed to be done if I wanted good behavior. If you want your elected officials to be in good behavior, then you got to spank them. Don't want to have to go to that point, but if we have to, we'll depose all those people. There was actually one elected official too that was disavowed, that was talked to in church and said, well, why don't you come to the meetings? He said, well, I did. I went to one of their meetings, the other side's meetings. And he said the whole meeting was all about how do we get the other side? How do we get them? How do we get them? He said, that turned me off. I'm done. Done. See, we're not trying to get the other side. We're just trying to do our thing. We're trying to support our country. We love America. That's why we believe America comes first. That's why we believe that we should be out of everybody else's business. Not isolationist. I believe in what Washington said, and I practice it in my own personal life. That is, he said we should be friendly to everyone and no one's friend. Because the problem is when you're someone's friend, they can talk you into doing evil things as a good person out of ignorance or out of some idea that you can trust anything they say because they're my friend. Well, if you don't understand that people can do good and evil things with the best of intentions, and they'll tell you something with the best of intentions, they believe that what they're telling you is the truth, and it's not the whole truth. And if it's not the whole truth, it's a perfect lie. That's why when you go into court, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Because the most perfect lie is all truth with one thing left out, right? And this is what causes good people to do evil things out of friendship. That's why you should be friendly to everyone. No one's friend. I've only got one best friend. She's been my best friend for 39 years. That's the only friend I have. But I'm friendly to everyone. So I just wanted to clear some things up. So I'm going to stop going from the angry old vet back to my lovable, grumpy old vet self. But this has been episode 4 of the Self-Evident Truth with the grumpy old vet. You have yourself a good day. Thank you.